Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of May. I hope you are. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today, which is interesting. As was the meditation. I don't really know how to explain what I saw there. There was something doing this, and I thought maybe it might be like a pendulum, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like a plane that was trying to sort of stay steady and straight. And there was something else which completely eludes me now. What was it? Yeah, it's gone. It'll come back, I'm absolutely certain. Yeah, I'm not going to force it. But it seemed very, very relevant anyway. So let's get some cards. Cards for Gemini, please. Thank you. We have the Tower in reverse in your recent past. So we have 2 for your current energy. We have the 2 of Cups and we have Temperance. Okay. And what's coming towards Gemini, please? That's the one. We have the Chariot. I like that for you. We've got the 8 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. It's a card that talks about mastery and really working hard at something. But the card that we have underneath it is the 5 of Wands. And it does feel to me like you have managed to extricate some order out of the chaos here, right? Well, we like chaos. It's fertile and creative ground, but sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. And I think perhaps there has been an element of that for you here, Gemini. But there's some structure coming to it. There's a point that you can see to the chaos now. Like you've mined it for something quite useful to you, I think. The Night Sun Tarot is a really dense deck. It's full of, big spiritual symbolism. And so when it comes out for a sign, it tells me that they've kind of been going through something a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have to have been a rough thing. It's just they've been going through a thing, So let's tell me about the Tower, please. Thank you. Let's see what card that was. We have the 2 of Cups again. Tell me about the Tower. I have the King of Cups. Tell me about Temperance and the 2 of Cups here. We have the 7 of Swords and the 7 of Cups. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that. Oh, one more for that, please. Thank you. We have the 4 of Pentacles, right? Tell me about the Chariot card. We have the 2 of Pentacles and we have the 2 of Wands. Two. Lots and lots of 2s. We've got the 7 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. It's a really defensive energy there. And interestingly, we have the Tower directly behind it. The Fool is behind that though. And I like that. Because if the energy of the Tower is that sudden, shocking ending to things, ending, clearing out, that kind of way, then what I like to see behind that is an Ace or the Fool card or something like that. And there you have it. Now, every sign that I seem to have read for this month has got some sort of ending, a new start, just in the offing. I've kind of taken my eye off the astrology, so I don't really know what's going on in the heavens at the moment. But there hasn't been a sign that I've read for yet, and God, I think yours is like number 11 of all the signs that I've read for, right? There hasn't been a sign that hasn't had some sort of big ending and an imminent new start, either like right behind it or they're kind of stuck between the two. But there's a really strong sense of chaos that's been kind of swirling around you and feels like it's actually engulfed you a little bit at times. Now, we've got the Tower in reverse here. Now, the reversed cards don't always mean, the exact opposite of what they mean in the upright. Sometimes they can speak to a delay or a block or something like that, And so if the energy of the Tower is that sudden and shocking end, an abrupt clearing out of things from your life, then the Tower could be a way in which you have prevented that from happening. in the recent past. And by recent past, I mean certainly in the last like 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. It could be that it's acted as a delay. And so actually there's been an element of kind of delaying the inevitable, but I don't really get a sense of that. You know, I've just noticed that there's kind of like the dishes that you would get on the sides of scales. You know, when you see like the Justice card and she's holding a set of scales, right? There's one of those on each of the corners of the Tower card there. I don't know if you can see it. But nevertheless, it's shown up in the reverse. And we have the Two of Cups and we have the King of Cups here. Now, if I was going to do a very, you know, flat interpretation of what these cards mean here, it could be that there was, you know, in the offing, or had been in the offing at least, a potential breakup that occurred between you and a significant other person, perhaps, you know, a Scorpio. Male or female, doesn't really matter about gender, right? Tarot doesn't care about that. But because it's the Knights on Tarot, I feel like there's so much more going on here with this. I feel like, certainly with these two cards, what we have here is a really emotionally mature response to something that has been difficult. And this card speaks to me, rather than romantic relationships, it indicates intimacy, right? So whether that is intimacy in a business sense, because it's business partner, right? I'm just throwing that one in there. I don't actually think that that's the case here, but or friends, or, you know, work colleagues, whatever, right? It's two people who come together with shared goals. You know, it's an alignment, a union of sorts, right? But it doesn't need to be romantic. But the intimacy comes from that kind of broader perspective, right? It's the way in which you show up in relationships. Now, what seems to have occurred here is a maturing of your energy towards intimacy. Right? Now, because we have the Seven of Wands at the bottom of the deck, it feels to me like there's been something that's been off limits in terms of your, you know, your Two of Cups situations, whether they're romantic or otherwise. Something about yourself that you felt quite defensive over. Thank you. Oh, we have the Death card, or the Journey as it is in this deck. It's an absolutely spanking card. Look at that, I love it, right? And what I'm trying to work out is where it's coming from, right? We've got the Three of Swords fill out here, along with the Hermit and the Fool, or the Hooded Man and the Wanderer, right? It feels like there's something that's really come to the surface that's perhaps stopped you being as intimate as you could be with people, right? Something of yourself that you have guarded away from other people. And you've done it because you would have felt judged, I think. I'm looking at this card here, and this crow is literally picking this skull clean. And it feels like the exposure of whatever this is. I swear to fucking God. The exposure of whatever this is could have felt like having your bones picked clean. It's kind of like a dark part of you, Gemini, that you don't allow to surface very often. And if you do, you share it with very few people. I think the Scorpio full moon was incredibly profound for you. You know, this Death card indicates Scorpio. We have the King of Cups there, which is also Scorpio, and I look at that full moon in the background there. Right? This feels like it's brought something to light that's been buried quite hard and quite deliberately by you, but there's no way of escaping it. And it could, right now at least anyway, and it could be that it has been your personal relationships where some sort of triggering event has occurred within those that has caused you to stop and kind of look at this part of yourself, which, like I said, it feels like you've buried it really, really hard, and now it's kind of come up. And maybe it has its what it relates to is your ability to be intimate, your ability to really bare your soul. Tell me about this King of Cups, please. All these cards dropping out to the right. I don't want any of those. I want a jumping card. Tell me what I need to know about this, please. Thank you. We've got the Hermit. I feel like you've been on quite the journey recently, Gemini, and I think that you've been really pulling bits of you up that you haven't experienced before. Well, that's certainly, oh, it's a Justice card as well. You've got 3 major arcana under here, right? However small it may have felt, you know, whatever it is that you've been engaged with, and, you know, there's interactions that you've had with people that kind of spurred this on, and certainly the Scorpio full moon seems to have played a massive part in this. It's shown you something so incredibly valuable. It's almost like potentially it's stopped what could be a potential tower in its tracks. Because whatever the tower represents here, and it does feel like it could have been the pulling apart of you from a person or people, you know. You dealt with it in the right way. There's such incredible emotional maturity here, Gemini. But there's a real acknowledgement of what is dark within you. Right? And it feels like that's what you've turned around and faced recently. And I'm not seeing fears exactly. I'm not seeing toxic behaviour from you. It's something different to that. And here is the Hermit. So kind of looking slightly deathly, to be fair, you know, they're talking to this little wren down here, who's actually the character that we see as the Page of Swords. But there's something quite triumphant about this. You know, the Woodward is the Justice card. And it really feels like you've triumphed over this. But triumphed in so much as understood it. You've understood a really deep part of yourself. And it was so important. We've got the Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and this one is called Injustice, which is interesting. And I wonder if it relates to a really deep injustice that was done to you a very long time ago, and one that you didn't really realise that you still held within you. You know, I mean, it's often the way of things. We don't realise that we're holding things because we're very deliberately ignoring them. You know, we've very deliberately buried it, and then it just doesn't come up on a day-to-day basis, and we kind of forget that it's there. Tell me about this. There's 3 cards here. Thank you. 8 of Wands. This. 5 of Wands, yeah. You've entered into a dialogue with a part of yourself that was at war with you. You really have brought some healing to the situation. We've got the 6 of Cups at the bottom of the deck. That is childhood. Right? Sometimes it can be children, but it is childhood, ultimately, you know. And this final card that came out here is the Strength card. I love this Strength card. We've got somebody healing that wolf there. But if the wolf represents the wild and untamed and potentially dark part of you, you know, what I see here is you really understanding the value of that. This is not something to be hidden away. It's not something to be frightened of. It is something to be embraced and healed and worked with. It feels like the eradication of a part of you, not of a part of you, the eradication of a conflict that you had about a part of you. And so an acceptance, if you will. But this is fascinating, Gemini. So we're moving to your present energy, and what we've got is the Temperance card with the Two of Cups again. Okay? We've got this notion of intimacy and whatever that means to you as a Gemini. But we also have healing coming to it here, right? With this Sagittarian card of Temperance. The thing that I always find quite interesting about this Temperance card is like this angel she's got some big wings, right? They're big wings, but they look to me almost riveted. Like they're made of steel. They're kind of bomb-proof, you know? The ways in which you have made yourself bomb-proof, Gemini, a huge part of that will have been this thing that you buried, that you were not paying attention to. But these wings are kind of cracking open, and there is the ability here for you to now, you know, pour from one cup into another. There's balance being brought to the situation. And there's balance being brought to the way in which you are showing up emotionally. You know, it feels like there's been some sort of big purge, but it does feel like you shone a light onto a part of you that you had been deceiving yourself about. Maybe you're just deceiving yourself about the fact that it existed in the first place, but certainly it was something that contained a great deal of emotional confusion for you. We've got the Four of Pentacles here, which indicates, you know, a need to release something. What about these three cards, please? Oh. There's three cards here. Yeah, we've got the Knight of Cups and we've got the Seven of Pentacles. Now, like, this is going to manifest differently for each of you, for sure. Remember that this is a general reading. But there's been a part of you, Gemini, that's been really, really deeply buried, and it's come to the surface. And I tell you what, like, it needed to. We've got the Knight of Cups. We've got the way that you show up emotionally in the world. And it doesn't matter how giving and how thoughtful and how caring you are. And perhaps the more giving and the more thoughtful and the more caring you are, the more deeply hidden this part of you is. You've kept something back from the world. And I feel like you disavowed it. I feel like you deliberately did this because this part of you did not like. But with this Chariot card, I think that you understand the reason why it's there. And more than that, you understand that how you can harness it and use it for your greater good, or perhaps the greater good of all sorts, right? Perhaps it had its expression in some sort of small way that you did not consider to be particularly, important enough to have to deal with. But it in your interactions with other people, like, suddenly it's come to the fore, and it's almost like now this flag has been raised that says, you know, here is Gemini keeping a little bit of them, you know, emotionally closed down. Now you can work with it. It feels like you've been engaging in some shadow work, actually, Gemini, is what it feels like. Which is brilliant, actually. I think everybody should do more of that. You've identified something so very deep within you. And it all revolves around intimacy. It revolves around your emotional capacity. I'm looking at this Two of Cups here. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but we have two people, one on each side of the card there, like that. And they're both holding a cup, and there is water coming out of the cup. And there's a heart in the middle, but the water is kind of sloshing around the heart. It looks like the water should just land on the heart, right? This person's chucked it up, the other person's dropping it out of the cup, like it should just be meeting in the middle, and actually it's swerving around the heart. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but have a look there. Maybe just see it, right? Swirling around the outside of it. This feels to me like a massive revelation that you've had about the way that you allow other people's emotions to interact with your heart, and how you allow your heart to interact with your own emotions. It feels really deep, Gemini. Really, really deep. So what we've got coming towards you, interestingly, in May is the Chariot. But rather than rather than the shadow work aspect of it here, although there is a very shadowy feel to this card, it feels more like you harnessing it up and actually using it, right? It is also the card of the self. It is card of determination and willpower and exercising your will, like over these beasts here to make them go in a straight line. It is harnessing the wild and the tame side of you and knowing that they are equally and exactly powerful, you know, in opposition to each other. They have to work in complete alignment, otherwise you're going to get dragged off in a, you know, in a direction one way or another, right? You want to go in a straight line, you want to succeed. There's something here about it having reignited your will to do what it is that you want to do. Now, interestingly, we've got the Two of Pentacles and we've got the Two of Wands underneath there. I feel like you're still processing in the month of May whatever came out for you in the Scorpio full moon. You're still working out how you integrate this knowledge into yourself, and that's good. You should always be working with it. But with this Two of Wands, you've got some decisions to make. Let's talk about this Two of Wands. We've got the Two of Wands and we've got the Tower. How fascinating is this, right? The first and the last card of the reading is the Tower. We've got the Page of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. We have the Ten of Pentacles and we have the Fool. We also have the Queen of Wands peeking out from behind the Fool there. You stop the Tower from happening in the first instance. It's almost like you felt it coming. You saw the signs and you stopped it. But interestingly, I feel like now you're coming to a point where maybe the Tower is necessary, right? We've got the Two of Wands there and the Two of Wands there. This is crossroads energy. This is making a decision about something. And it feels like maybe the decision is around letting the Tower actually do its job now. You know? Whatever the Tower represents to you. And it could be, you know, in all manner of things. This could be business related. This could be... maybe if you're in the esoteric arts as a business. Thank you. Got the Seven of Wands again. No, Seven of Wands for the first time showing up for you, but that's 3 sevens now. Very spiritual numbers. And we have the King of Pentacles. Oh, the Seven of Wands was there, beg your pardon, it was the shadow card at the bottom of the deck. The interesting thing is it doesn't feel like it's in defense of you now, it feels like it's in defense of someone else. And we've got you here as the King of Pentacles, and it does feel like you. They're all women in the Triple Goddess, which I really, really like. Like I said, gender's not important. The King of Pentacles is all about your stability and your security. It's the King of delayed gratification. It feels very much to me, Gemini, like you're about to upset the apple cart because you've got a plan moving forwards. And it's not one that you foresaw. Even just a couple of weeks ago, this is something big, but it's going to lead to something bigger in future. You know, however much upheaval what you're planning to do is, it feels like it will reward you many, many times over if you take the plunge in it. And this Seven of Wands, like I said, it does feel like you're making difficult decisions, making them willingly, because it feels like the investment will pay off in the long run. The people that are important to you, whether it is, you know, your partner or your friends or your family or whatever, or even just the collective, because let's face it, a lot of Geminis are working, you know, in the healing arts, shall we say, you know, certainly spiritual modalities. There's some benefit that you can see here now clearly that you could not see before, and I do feel like you are contemplating bringing a Tower to this. but this Tower is coming by your hand. This is fascinating. Right, Gemini, I'm going to leave it here. If this has resonated with you, I'm going over to Vimeo now to go and pull this apart a little bit. See what the fuck is going on, because I need to call up some Geminis that I know and just go, what is going on with you right now? Like, tell me, because this is fascinating. So if you want to join me over there, that's absolutely cool. If not, that is also absolutely cool. It's a big month. It's a big month, Gemini. And one that I think could see you spinning on a sixpence in terms of what you intend to do. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.